Hello, and welcome to another episode of Inspired Good Fat Life. And we have just been having the most interesting conversation today. It's just kind of a wonky, I don't know, energy
hybrid,
in the world.
Maybe,
day today. And I'm so delighted to have a guest, Kathleen London from London Beauty.
Thank you.
In Brighton and Ann Arbor. She's got 2 locations, which we'll talk about in a minute. But before we get into that, I want to draw your attention again to Good Fat Life, our newest issue. This is the fourth quarter issue, and you can find the details on goodfatlife.com. We have a print version and a digital version and tons of great stuff. So that said, Kathleen, talk to me.
Hey, it's been a minute. By the way, your eyelashes look good today.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
they do.
So we had I don't want to pop up. We did a workshop a couple of weeks ago here in Brighton at the Brighton Lighthouse, which is world headquarters, right, for Good Fat Life, which I think I just love to say it's like Disneyland for entrepreneurs. It's such a cool space.
Yeah, it really is.
But Kathleen came, and she was one of our guests, and she did a session breakout on makeup and skincare for the fall and winter.
Yeah.
Because it's getting cold.
It is getting cold. And also it's always fun to do that event because I think this is my second time because I feel like so many women, whatever age, right? Any age, they fall into this kind of like, well, I've been doing this and I don't know if it's right. And I kind of want something that looks good, or I'm stuck in my old way of doing this and I feel like it doesn't look right. There's always these things and they always feel a little hesitant to say something, right? They feel awkward or shy about it. And so once we get going, you can see them just open up to the idea of like, oh, right, I don't have to do like a whole TikTok makeup look or listen to my 13-year-old daughter or, like they realize they can be themselves.
Yes, people were like just chatting their heads off, asking all kinds of questions and like
all over the map questions.
Right, all over the map questions. And we found that with both the times that you've been there, that's just like you create a space where suddenly it's like, well, I haven't thought about this and I want to know. I've been doing my eyes the same way since I was in high school, and maybe that's not the way to. But since you were talking about, opening up, so some of the faux pas I've been doing as an older woman, we say older, right?
We say, we older. Are just women. We're women. Why do we have to identify? We can just be women.
So with this eye that you showed, it's like, oh my gosh. When I started noticing, I was like, you must just have a field day when you're walking down the street or something, just seeing things that we do that we don't realize that we're doing that just aren't our best flattering look.
Well, but what's funny about that? So this was something we were talking about a few moments before we went live, is that actually I don't do that. I like just seeing people, right? Mm-hmm. And one of our big overriding factors is we want to make you feel safe. We want to make you feel comfortable. So I would never in a million years, if you liked doing whatever it is, X, right, to your face.
Eyeliner under my eyes.
Right. Like line around your eyes, whatever it is, whatever the thing is, right? And you're attached to that. Like, you go, girl. Like, if that is your thing, like, live your best life. Let's work with that, not against it. Like, it's so low judgment. But if you're saying like, hey, I want to look more modern, I want to look more current, then I'll be like, hey, lose that liner. Like, open your eye up, lose that liner. That's not what we're doing right now. That's it. It's like ball bottoms versus skinny jeans, right? Like, that's not what we're doing right now. We're supposed to be moving, high-waisted, wider leg jean, right? But like a skinny jean is, if you want to rock a skinny jean, rock a skinny jean. I still do. But sometimes I wear a big
I didn't
cut.
know. Are they out now? Skinny jeans.
I'm shattering all the illusions. Yes. They have been for a hot minute, and that like big boxy kind of look is very much in vogue. And look, I have I have my two gorgeous and lovely and intelligent nieces who have lived in big cities. You know, every time I see them, they're either in something that is teeny tiny and barely covering, you know, something, or they're in something that is 5 times too big and you can't tell anything about that. They're just like a blob of clothing. So it's never, or they're a tiny thing under a big blob. Like it's crazy to me what the streetwear looks are today, because they're everything. There's so much fluidity in what you put together, because there's so much crossover between the masculine and the feminine, right? You use masculine elements, you use feminine elements, you tie it all together in this really cool package that's super individual, which I actually really love. But yes, technically skinny jeans, the 16-year-old in me would be like, Mom, put your skinny jeans away. Like, why are you wearing those? So, yeah, like they are, but I still wear them. Like, whatever, you do you, right? Like, wear what you feel comfortable in it, because if it makes you feel good, you should feel good, part, right? You want to feel good. And so what we were talking about earlier, which is very top of mind for me right now, is this kind of idea of bullying people or shaming people or commenting about people's appearance based on some societal moray of today, right? Like, oh, well, skinny jeans are out. And so you're walking down the street in your skinny jeans and someone's like, she needs to get the memo. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. It's the same with the eyeliner or anything. It's more about what makes you feel good, and how can, like in the beauty world for us, how can we help you get there, right? Maybe you're never going to be comfortable not lining your eyes. That's okay. I can show you 1,000 different ways to line your eyes that will help you update your look. 100,000 different ways. There are 1,000 different tricks in my arsenal to show you different ways to line your eyes.
How cool is that? I mean, that's why I love coming in your store.
Well,
or being in your space.
Yeah.
Being in your space, because you always are inspiring.
Oh, that's very sweet. But we really, I love people. Like, I honestly and truly love people. And, you know, I love my kind of sisterhood of women so much, whatever like derivation that takes. You know, I work with all these very young women, which in some moments, like we were talking earlier, I was looking in the camera and I was like, oh God, I look so cute today when I walked out. And, you know, then I'll go sit with these adorable 20-somethings and I'm just like, oh Lord, like when did this happen, right? Like, but at the same time, that's not how they see me. I mean, maybe they do. I don't know. But they don't. But that's my harsh judgment on myself, and it's my and how horrible if I were to look at other people that way with that harsh lens. And so I think that's our biggest thing is don't do that to yourself. First off, I do it all the time.
I know.
So I need to learn to do it too. But, you know, we need to not do it to ourselves, but we also need to not do it to others, right? Like, I looked around that room when we were at Brighton Lighthouse, and there was this many different ages and many different types of women, right? Like, I mean, there was curly hair and straight hair and older and younger and, you know, obviously super like athletically fit and inclined, and someone who was more like knitting and TV watching, you know, like clearly like cozy person, athletic person, like all the different types were there. And it's like we all have the same feelings, right? We all want to feel good. We all want to wake up and feel good about ourselves. But we shouldn't have to fit into some mold of what somebody thinks we should be. So you like to knit and you don't like to run half marathons. Okay. Okay. Like, guess what? If you come into my store, my whole team will be like, well, what do you like? Do you want a lip balm? Because I hear that's kind of nice when you're running. You know, like, let's protect your skin. But that same person can say, I want to wear red lipstick and a cat eye tomorrow night when I go out, right? It's all about just being comfortable. And that's such a hard thing for us as women to do for ourselves and for others, I think. So I don't notice it on the street. I actually just love people. I think that's why I got into this. Like, I enjoy people. I advocate for people. That's my whole thing. And so I'm always caught off guard when I'm confronted with like limited thinking or bullying or someone saying like, well, who do you think you are, kind of thing. And I'm always like, I don't know. Who do I think I am?
Wow.
Right? There's room for all of us at the table.
Totally.
As I said before, like there can be 2 brunettes on the prom committee. Like, what's your damage, Heather? Like, what's your damage?
And there are 2 brunettes, right?
Right? There are 2. And I mean, seriously, like, what's your damage? And just in case, you know, Heather's that movie, the classic Mean Girls movie. And we just did a Gilmore Girls night at the store in Brighton, and there was a little kerfluffle about that. And I was like, well, I guess it's not a Gilmore Girls party unless Paris shows up. Paris is kind of this bully that ends up being kind of a good friend, but a bully all at the same time, like the classic frenemy situation with Gilmore Girls. And I kind of had a situation like that. And I was just chuckling. I was like, well, it's not a party until Paris shows up. Like, can't even be mad at Paris, right? I can't be mad. Like, I can't even be mad at Heather. Like, it just is. People get insecure, and someone used this analogy with me. This has nothing to do with beauty, or maybe it does. Somebody was using this analogy that if you're an accountant and you need numbers to do your job, right? You need numbers. But what if numbers were finite? So you get 10 5s, I get 8 5s, Johnny gets 3 5s, and we all get assigned a finite amount of numbers. And so when we go to, as business people, do our thing, I might be like, oh man, I need more 5s. I'm going to ask Sherri for some 5s. And you're like, well, I'm really busy with my 5s right now. So, you know, ask Johnny. Johnny, who's only got 3, is like, well, I can spare like 1. And so, you know, so we're swapping out 5s because maybe I'm busy with 5s, but you're busy with like 5s and 9. I don't know. And that's not how math works, right? There is an infinite amount of 5s. You're not fighting me for 5s. So why do we have to fight each other in our individual spheres, on the street, in the classroom, in life, at an event, right? There is room for all of us. There is an infinite amount of 5s. And how I use that 5 and how you use that 5 are going to be totally different. Maybe you're doing
That's so interesting.
Right?
You know, as a numbers person, I have had a dozen conversations about numbers in the past week. And never, I mean, in my entire life, I've never thought of numbers as being limited.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And so, but I think also there's a philosophy around that too, is that I tend not to think of anything in life as limited.
Right.
Because
it's an idea.
It's an idea. It's absolutely an idea. And what we were talking about earlier is if you do well, I do well.
Correct.
Right? It's
Correct.
the idea of what all boats rise.
Yeah.
And so
and to be honest, even if I'm nefarious, to use an SAT word, even if I'm being like a rascal, and maybe I don't have the best intentions, and maybe I don't want your boat to rise, right? It doesn't matter because it's infinite. You can't chunk out a piece of the infinite because it's infinite. You can't chunk it out because it will be forever infinite. So no matter how much I chunk out at that thing, or try and steal your idea, or clamp on to what you're doing, or mirror what you wear, or, you know, copy you in whatever way, right? Like Chanel said, the highest form of flattery is copying somebody. So like, who cares? It's infinite.
Which is really true when you think about
100%
it. 100%
right? True. And also, if like we're talking about clothing, right? Or a lipstick trend or an eye trend or whatever, it's an infinite thing. So you and I might come on to that idea at the same time, at the exact same time. That doesn't mean that you don't get to do it because
because
I'm
you
doing
vocalized it or did something. Yeah.
Right. Like you can't chunk away from the infinite. Ideas are ideas. So they're going to populate. It's been proven time and time again, right? How do these trends become trends? It's been fought about forever, right? Like, why started that trend? Did you? Right? Who started it? I don't know. Like a lot of times it's out there, right? It's just something that kind of made its way out there. What's the genesis of that trend? Well, I don't know. When did 5 originate? Right? Like it's an infinite thing. Once it's there, it's there. And so I think, it's a funny thing. And I think in beauty, particularly, people can feel marginalized because they're not the right, whatever it is, shade, or they're not the right, they don't do the right thing. Like that was what came up. I think every time I've been at the Lighthouse with you, somebody's like, well, I feel like I'm too old to do that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? There are no rules, literally no rules, other than you should feel good and it should make you look good. And as long as that's what you're doing, then like, okay, let's do that. There are no rules. There really aren't. And I mean, I think people even get judgy about, I'll use a really funny example. My niece would go to summer camp every summer, sleepaway camp, right? And there was one girl at summer camp, at sleepaway camp, who wore a lot of makeup. So on the weekends when they had things, right, like boy things or whatever, the camps would get together, whatever it would be, she would put on a full face of makeup. Well, at summer camp, most of the girls are pretty au naturel. Like no one's really fussing with their look. Right. I mean, you might put some effort into what you're wearing, but you're not putting on a full face of makeup up north in the north woods, right? But this girl always did, and she was getting made fun of for that. And at the end of the summer when I picked up my niece and we were talking about it, and I was like, well, for her, that might seem normal. Like you can't judge her for what maybe her mom says, like, well, if you're going to meet a boy, this is what you do. You don't know what the background for that action
is. Mm-hmm. Well, Dolly Parton certainly wouldn't go out without her makeup. But
Charlotte Tilbury, the brand Charlotte Tilbury. Yeah. I read someplace her husband has never seen her without makeup. Factor that one in, Johnny. Never without makeup.
And I had a crazy. I have a friend whose mom was on her all the time. Mm-hmm. Never go out without your makeup and lipstick on. And she's just like, but that's how her mom.
That was how her mom right
felt the world.
So then, what do you?
Right?
So then, so then, all the like natural girls up north get to make fun of the girl who's putting on makeup. Like, again, like what are we doing to each other, right? And why do we always focus on this like thing instead of thinking like maybe instead we should let her give us all makeovers like one evening? Wouldn't that be fun for her? Like turn it around. And I realize when you're 13, 14, 15, you're not thinking that way. You're so insecure about yourself and trying to figure out your own identity. It's hard to understand somebody else's identity, let alone yourself. So it's all a learning process, but I am amazed at how many adults don't do that. And it's I'm a work in progress. Like I'm not perfect. I make the snarky snide remark, here and there and everywhere. Like it happens, but if we start thinking about these ideas and these concepts as infinite, it's like numbers, then who cares, right?
Because there's always enough.
There's always
more than enough.
There's always more than enough and more options, right?
Well, and creativity, when I was teaching that, creativity and innovation, it's like one of the founding things is nothing is original. Mm-mm. Really? It's just people. Somebody takes an idea and then throws it out, and then you build on it, I build on it, they build on it, and that's how it works. And it's a process, and we build on, and that's what's fun.
It's what's super fun, and to be honest, that's what looking like at beauty and talking to young women and older women and in between women and who knows what kind of woman, like all the in betweens. I think I look at the challenges that social media presents today, right? Because it still is, it's funneling all this information at you as to what you should look like, and it's always been that way, but it's so available 24 hours a day. I probably have coffee in my nose because I
It smells delicious.
I'm never without a cup of coffee. But it's funny because it's really hard to have that, see that all the time and try and analyze, like, well, what do I want to be, right? You're 13 years old and you're seeing all this information, which the analog takes you into a narrower version of that, right? Like the algorithm takes you. So if you start looking at makeup looks, it's just going to send you down that rabbit hole, right? So then all of a sudden you're down this rabbit hole and you're like, oh, should I be doing that? Do I need more of that? How do I, and then all of a sudden that's what everybody on your feed looks like. So that means that must be what everybody looks like.
That's interesting.
Right? And it's really hard. And it becomes, and I think the other side of that is the resistance to the beauty movement, right? Like people resist it because they're like, well, I don't do that. I don't need. But like we all want to feel beautiful, right? In some derivation or another. So we just need to take care of ourselves and kind of mother and sister each other. Like I loved your story you were telling me earlier about that, learning from like a sister, friend, mother type person, that when you get out of the shower or the bath, put your body lotion or your body oil on in that moment. Well, there are 1,000 reasons for that. Your pores are open, your skin is damp, your product will last longer, it will go in better, it'll penetrate and hydrate better, moisturize better, So there are 1,000 good reasons for it. And there's also a little element of self-care in it, right? Because you've just taken this like moment to clean. And so taking that extra moment to take care of your skin is like a lovely self-care moment, right? And so what a cool thing that you learned that from somebody.
So just to preface the story, so when I went to college, my college roommate, my mom wasn't around when I was growing up, really, for the mom stuff, but my roommate's mom was. They were very high maintenance, and I say that in the most loving way because I was in awe of the things that she knew, right? Like this.
Yeah.
So like my skin's all scaly and disgusting and hers is all beautiful and soft. And she's like, oh, you just put lotion on after you get out of the shower. That's what you do. And it was so funny because this morning I always took the time. I used this lovely lotion that a friend had gifted me and I was feeling good. And I was remembering my girlfriend who's since passed. And so grateful for her sharing that. And then I saw and then I saw this thing, on, I don't know, newsfeed, BuzzFeed, I think it was. Yeah. And I don't like really read it, but it just popped up. I had a minute and it was talking about all these things that women taught me in my life. And the first one was that when you get out of the shower, put your lotion on all over. And it just almost made me cry because
that's so touching.
Because it was such a touching thing, but it's also a really cool thing.
It's also a really cool thing. And it is something that I feel like we sometimes forget with each other, that in as adults, our day-to-day wrestling to get, the kids to school and the bills paid and the, I've got to get this, or, the just general kind of scrapping, right, that we go through every day. We lose track of that connection that needs to happen. And it's so important because all those ideas are infinite, right? Like who originated, like, was that your friend's original idea and now you're not, right? It's a lovely memory. And so now you can share it and someone else can share it. And we can talk about it on this podcast and she's not going to be mad at us because we're talking about it on the podcast and that was her idea and how dare you share my idea, right? Like, no. And I think it's such a cool thing when you get outside of the idea of like worrying about that. Like, why do we have to worry so much? Like, can't we just be there for each other?
So as you're talking, I'm thinking, the name of our workshop was More Wonder, Please, right? Because at Good Fat Life, we spend a lot of time curating wonder moments into the magazine, into our events, into our day. And my thought was, this was a wonder moment. Putting my lotion on for myself, remembering Sandy teaching me this, and then seeing that on a BuzzFeed that somebody else had somebody else teach them that, right? And then us having this conversation, and then as we're talking, I realize my granddaughters, that's normal for them since they were teeny weeny babies to get all lathered up after the shower or after their bath, and so that'll just be a way of being for them.
Yeah.
But I taught that to my daughter.
Right. And she's teaching it to hers, and somebody else is teaching it to theirs. And it's this lovely, and it didn't take away from the charm of your memory that someone else had that memory.
No,
right?
It actually made me pause and go, how happy for them.
Right. Like what a cool thing that this is
thing.
Universal, right?
Exactly.
Like a universal, like lovely thing. And I think the beauty movement in general has the capacity to be like weirdly competitive. Like, what do they have that I don't have? Or, how are they looking that way and I'm not looking that way? Or why do they have clear skin and I have acneic skin? Why do they have porcelain skin and I have freckles? Why do they have, like there's this constant barrage of why do they have and I don't in the conversations, or mental conversations, I should say. And I think it's a very hard thing to break that habit, because we all why don't I have like the perfect jawline? I don't know. That's my jawline. What makes it not perfect? Right?
That's a great question, right?
Right. Therein lies the question. What makes it not?
And who made that rule?
Who made that rule? Right. Exactly. What's your damage, Heather? Why am I being so judgmental of my jawline and holding it up to some standard that it has nothing to do with anything other than I admire that, right? I admire it, but that doesn't mean I should say
feel less than,
because someone else might be looking at me and saying shit, I wish I had those eyes, that nose, that hair, that whatever it is. I don't know, you name it.
This adorable store in Brighton, Michigan, right?
Whatever it is. And I think once you get outside of yourself enough to realize, right, we can all exist in this space. And none of us can be perfect at it all the time. And I think it is a true practice. That's where I think that word practice comes from. It's a practice. It's a practice to see the infinite, right? It's a practice.
Yes.
And it's hard. And that's that wonderment that you were talking about. It's practice to see it. You practice gratitude. You practice yoga. You practice, those are practices. And there's a reason for that. And I wish it was a beauty practice. It'd be more fun if it was a practice, because it is all a practice. We're just playing, right? It's like changing ties for some men, right? We're just playing. It's just seeing what works and what feels fun today. And what feels fun today might not be fun tomorrow. That's okay too.
Or tonight.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah,
and just because, so I was obsessed when the TV show Wednesday came out, the Addams Family reboot. Wednesday Addams, I was like, oh my God, her makeup was just, I was obsessed. And so I was looking up who the makeup artist was and what they had done to give her that look. The little goth girl in me was going crazy. And I was looking up what they did and I was like, oh, that's cool. Oh yeah, that's cool. And then I was like, okay, this girl who's playing this character, I can't think of the actress's name off the top of my head. Anyhow, she's what, 25, 20 something. I mean, she's
young.
She's young.
Yeah.
And I was like, I had my moment of self-judgment, well, Kathleen, come on, you're not, you can't do that anymore. And I was like, why not? Why can't I? Why can't I find a way that I can do that? And so I played with different things just to see what could I get away with on my skin tone. She's also Latina, so she could do different things with her skin tone than I can do with my skin tone. Okay, fair enough. But it doesn't mean I can't imitate her because it's cool and make it my own. So it was inspired by her, but I can still make it my own. And also, I was probably doing a goth look long before she was born. so like whatever. I was inspired by her, but it was taking me back to like the 90s, right? And my Cure days when I'd listen to The Cure. So like whatever, it's all good, right? It doesn't have to be. We don't have to be limited. Again, infinite. There's an infinite amount of ideas and resources. And when we get into beauty, you kind of have to give yourself that leeway. Like, and then when you play with somebody else, like I did with the women, and we explored, all of a sudden people are like, well, how did you do that? Or, oh yeah, that does look different.
Right.
Because it's all illusion, right? Like how to make your eyes look more open or make them look more closed. Like today, okay, so we can talk about this. So see how my eyeshadow is across my whole eye? Mm-hmm. So what I was talking about with you is we were doing more of a cat eye, like something that was a little smokier on the outside, lighter on the inside. So why? Because see, my eyes kind of look dark and a little small. I have a lot of real estate. Yep. My eyes are pretty big, but... So I have a lot of real estate space, but nonetheless, it still makes my eye look a little darker. Like they look more like a pocket as opposed to like winged out, right?
Okay.
Well, that's part of the illusion. I've done a dark lid as opposed to smoked out the corner of my eye to lift my eye. It gives a totally different appearance. If I did half my face one way and half my face the other way, this half would look like a different shape. But I didn't change the shape of my face. I just changed how I put my makeup on.
Right.
That's like if I put on big baggy jeans and a baggy thermal and a flannel versus, a slip dress and, a t-shirt. In one, I look like I could be any size, any whatever. And in the other, I look curvy and, feminine. Like,
you're right.
It's all illusion. It doesn't mean I actually gained 15 pounds and I'm in that outfit. It just means I'm in that outfit today.
Right. You're at home doing housework.
Yeah, or that's how I dressed today. Right. So actually at the event last night, a couple of the moms were standing around talking and they were like, oh, there's the drop-off mom and there's the pickup mom. Because it's like when they drop their kids off, they look one way. But when they pick them up, because they've been to work and doing stuff, the pickup mom looks totally different, right?
Oh, like that's funny.
From drop off to pick up, what they look like. And they're like, do you even recognize, pickup mom versus drop off mom, right? And I was like, oh my God, that's hysterical and so true,
and
right?
It's so true, absolutely. Yeah.
And as women, it's almost universal that you have your and it doesn't even have to be with kids. It can be like your workout self versus your corporate self, or it's the different things.
So one of my friends, we used to meet at the gym every morning before work, right?
Right.
And then after like 3 months of doing this, we had a reason to go. Somebody was having a birthday party or something, and it was like, wow.
Who are you?
Exactly. Right. You really clean up, right?
Oh my God. I saw a client. I was at Costco and I bumped into a client and I was like, hey, how are you? Because I came up behind her and I touched her shoulder like, hey, how are you? She swung around. She was like, you're in the wild. I was like, yes, I am. I'm in the wilds of Costco. I wasn't in my store, right? So that was also I think it's just very funny how we interact with each other, right? And what we see. And I have some there are just some clients I absolutely adore because they just get it. Like they just when she was like, you're in the wild, I was like, oh my God, you're my people. We have these moments and everybody kind of gets that. And I hope that that's what we breed, right? That's the kind of universality and the infiniteness that we breed. I hope that those women who came to that event go out and claim to be masters of the eyeliner. I hope hope that that's what they did, right? I don't need credit. I don't care. I don't want the credit. I want them to go out and feel like they
certainly
own.
did. So
right?
that counts as one.
No, that's
right?
one.
That's one. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, I hope that universality, right, goes out into the world, like the cream on your legs or the whatever. I want it to be universal. I just think it's so cool when you see it, and it can be, it's just out there, right? And
Right.
and it's a, I don't know, it's a really fun thing, and that's part of the best part about beauty, I think. Like, it can be the best part about beauty. And if, you know, I could tell my younger self something, it would be like, don't get so hung up, right? Like, just relax. It's okay. Like,
And have fun.
and have fun with yourself, because it's so easy to judge.
Well, you think about it is, you know, you were talking earlier about when you go out and you look in the mirror and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
But I remember my grandmother telling me that, you know, when I was a teenager, and she goes, you still feel 18, but you just look in the mirror and you go, oh,
Yeah.
But, and I guess thinking about it, and you see this, that it doesn't matter how a person looks. It matters how they make you feel, or how you feel in their presence. So I always try to remember that on those moments where you're just going, oh, it's kind of like, stop that.
Well, yeah, I had a dear, dear friend of mine who is older than me. Not quite, I guess she could be like my mother's age, but she's such a, I don't actually attach age to her at all. She's just my friend. I don't really think about it. But she was telling me this story, and this was years ago. We were still living in New York, and she said she had gone to this gala, and she had been talking to this younger woman about like something, like they were both maybe on the gala board. I don't know. I don't remember all the like insy-bitsy details, but she said, oh, I was talking to her, and I caught myself going on and being like, yeah, and da-da-da. And she goes, I was so engaged with her, and she was so interesting. And she like was nodding, and then she walked away to go get a drink or walk off with her boyfriend. And she said, I stood there for a second. I was like, oh my God, I think like I was talking to her like we were contemporaries, and she probably was looking at me like I was some little old lady, and she was just indulging me. And I was like, there's no way she felt that way. But she had that moment, right, of feeling like, oh, is that how she viewed me, right? Like I was like she got caught up in engaging with this person. But I said, it makes sense, because to me, she is very ageless. Like when I talk to her, I don't see an age. I don't see a limitation. I don't see a qualifier in our relationship based on anything. To me, she is a contemporary because we connect, right? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Generationally, she's a generation different than me. Like, it doesn't matter. And I feel that way about my team, even though they're a generation behind me, right? A lot of times I'm engaging with them, and I'm not even separating myself out, because we're all operating in this space. So yeah, like it's, when you look in the mirror, what is that? I don't know. Like, is it real anyhow? Like, does it have to be real? I don't know. Maybe. Like, what are we fighting?
Right. So I guess coming back around, like when I come into the store, I always look forward to coming to the store because it's fun. We get to play.
Yeah.
And that's fun.
It is fun, and it should be fun.
And that's one thing that I love about the changing of the seasons.
Yes.
Is right, because it's like I don't want to say an excuse. It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh, the season is changing, so it's time to, play in winter.
Play in winter.
Or play in spring.
Well, and also you're in the same way that like I don't know about you, my food choices change in the seasons, right? Everything changes. So I think particularly and I've noticed this with friends who live in places like California where it's like 72 all the time, they still have seasonal menus and seasonal things. And so I feel like, and then I have a friend from Australia, and seasonally, her seasons are opposite.
Right.
So her winter is her summer. So her Christmas is like fish and what we would consider like summer food. But for her, that sparks Christmas. So everyone has like a seasonality associated with food or their skin or their makeup or their clothes. Is it like chunky weather season? Is it, like all those things kind of come to play. And I think there's a reality to it too, because your skin's going to be drier in the winter, the fall and winter. You don't have your tan in the fall and winter. So guess what? That means you need richer moisturizer. That means you need probably a lighter foundation. That means, it's time to start thinking about your color palette in a different way, right? Because your skin tone is changing either slightly or a lot, depending on, are you a sun worshiper or not, right? Do you get tan? So it really depends, and that's true of all women. So it is actually a real thing, right? When the flowers start coming out in the spring, don't you want to wear more pink?
Mm-hmm. Right. You just do.
You just do. And if you lived in Australia when it was spring, you might be thinking about your winter palette, right? Right, like your darkers. But it definitely, I think, as a human, you automatically kind of move seasonally, and that impacts your skincare, which is why you want to come and talk to us. Like, what is going to help me transition? Because now it's not humid. My skin, I'm going to be skiing outdoors. I'm going to be in forced heat. I'm going to, all these things that impacts
your skin.
Yeah. Right? It becomes a thing. And then the same with your makeup. You start thinking about like reds and burnt colors and spices, and you reflect that in your clothing. And so if you're wearing an orange top, do you really want
pink lipstick?
A weird like poppy pink lipstick? That'd be kind of weird, right? Like that's an oddball thing to do. I mean, I guess you could. There's nothing to say you couldn't, but you want to be reflective.
That's right. You could. Based on our conversation,
you can do whatever you want. Yes, you totally could. But like when I change my hair color, you know me, you've known me a long time. I've been many different colors, and even non-natural colors. But like, I don't want to be pale pink in the fall. Like, I don't want pale pink hair in the fall. That doesn't feel right. And I also like short hair in the fall and the winter, and long hair in the summer. Seems counterintuitive, but it's because with scarves, you get this cute little like thing that happens when you put on a scarf with short hair versus in the summer you want to pull it into a ponytail. Like I have logic behind it. There's real logic there. But everyone's got their thing seasonally, so it's not wrong to seek out that advice, and hopefully coming to a small business or an educated team and staff, you'll get that information. No matter who you are, we can help you like sort through that based on what you feel like this season.
Yeah.
Because you saw something. Maybe you saw, what was it this summer? It was called Tomato Girl Makeup. It was Tomato Girl. And it was a lot of like red cheeks, red little eyes, a little red on your nose. It was very like flushed. It was a flushed look.
I missed that.
Yeah, I know. But it was a moment. It was a moment, whatever. But, so who knows what it'll be this winter. We'll keep you posted.
Okay.
As to what the winter trend is. But obviously always for fall is spicy and a little moodier, and you're breaking out your darker colors, and yet be who you want to be, right? If you want to wear pink lipstick in the middle of winter, you go for it. Like there are no rules. So,
but there is one quick thing I want to ask you is before we go is how long should you keep product? Mm-hmm. So if I buy, because I got into real trouble with my eyelashes because I didn't change out my mascara.
Yeah.
And that took me like months to get over that, the infection that I got in my eyelashes.
Yeah.
So that was like 3 months with no makeup on my eyes because. Yeah. So, anyways, but you just don't think about it. The time goes by so fast.
It does go by. And also, this is a good place for a little PSA. So, for all the dads and the moms out there who take their kids to Sephora and Ulta, products get touched a lot in those places. And in the drugstores and whatever, where they have like testers sitting out. And in our store, we're small, And the staff is trained, and we have many, like in Ann Arbor, we have estheticians, and some of them work in Brighton. And so everything is very clean. We have a cleaning rotation. And I'm sure these other stores do too, but it is very hard hiring people and having staff and keeping things the way it needs to be. And you don't want your kids rolling into these stores and putting the lipstick straight on their lips, the eye makeup straight onto their eyes without sanitizing it, because of exactly what you said, because then it's somebody else's eye problem that you're putting on your eyes. And you want to be careful of that in a store to boot. And then you want to be mindful of that when you're even working with a salesperson. Are they switching out the swabs that they're using? Are they, double dipping in things? Because that can impact, right? If I take and put mascara on you with a wand and then I go back in the mascara, even if it's a disposable wand, I just took it and went back in.
Yeah.
Right?
You just got my eye stuff in there. Yeah.
And then I'm going to use it on somebody else. So yes, even though each time I'm using a sanitary swab per person, if I'm double dipping, it's like double dipping your chip, right? So that's something to always keep in mind. So don't ever share your mascara. Try not to share a product with people, unless you know them very, 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 very well. It's like sharing a toothbrush, right? And that gets into that turning your product over. It depends on the product. If you're buying, it's kind of like if you're buying Twinkies, they're going to last a lot longer than if you're buying a tomato. So you have to look at what type of product, how much air it's exposed to, and how natural or clean the product is. Because the cleaner, using, beauty standards of clean, which means transparent ingredients, less fillers and preservatives, that means that's going to go bad faster. The rule of thumb is still the same. It's like 3 months max for mascara, 6 months to a year for eyeshadows. It's because the bacteria can build up. So depending on the type of thing that it is, it can build up more or less. And also a huge rule of thumb is don't keep products in the bathroom. I am guilty of this myself.
Where are you supposed to keep them?
So the reason not to keep products in the bathroom, no, you're fine, is the bathroom's humid and then it's not. And then it's humid and then it's not. So unless you have a palatial bathroom, you don't want your products someplace where they're sweating and then cooling off and then sweating.
I had no idea.
Off. Yeah. So that's why the little mini fridges became a thing, because it stabilizes the environment. That's all it's doing. It's not like, it'll keep things cool, but it's not like keeping food fresh. It's just keeping it in a stable, non-humid environment. Because when you take a shower and you walk out, your bathroom's steamed up. I personally, and you're not supposed to take super hot showers, I know this, but I love a really hot shower and a really hot bath. Like it's like just, I come out like a little lobster, and I love it. I love it so much. But my bathroom is a steamy mess. So like my product's going to be a mess. And so that shortens the life of your product.
Okay. I had no idea.
Don't think about it. It's changing
that
temperatures,
makes sense,
right?
But I never ever in a million years.
Because you don't want to leave it in your car either, right? Like think about leaving your lipstick in a car in the summer, right? It melts, it gets gross, it's gnarly. It's the same with cream or sunscreen or whatever. It changes the consistency of it. And so then when it re-hardens, it's like ice cream that's thawed and been refrozen. It's like got a weird icy texture. It's the same thing with your products. So even if they're full of more preservatives, the minute you kind of fiddle with that chemical base, it's probably not great to put back on your skin.
Well, okay, good to know. So just like, got to rethink the whole.
And I keep things in my bathroom too. Like, look, some things are reasonable, and something like, I don't know. There are some things you can and can't do. There's some things if you share a bathroom and that's just where you are, But I try and keep my makeup and my skincare. I have it in my bedroom in like an area where I do my makeup, and then like my stuff in my bathroom is either super current stuff that I'm actively playing with because I'm learning about it for this shop or something and like exploring it, or It's something that's super stable, like that is hair care products or something that is not going like on my face.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, obviously cleanser, it's not going to kill your cleanser. It's fine. You know what I mean?
And you use it up pretty fast, but
Yeah, and you go through it, but not your moisturizer. Try and keep that out of the bathroom. Keep your makeup out of the bathroom.
good to know. Well, so just as a kind of like I'm going to take a little quick sponsor break, and then I'll just ask, where would you advise somebody who's just kind of getting started with moving into fall to start, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
All right, I'll be right back. So we are so fortunate to have some amazing sponsors, and one of them that I just want to do a real shout out for today is Hands on Health. Hands on Health and Dr. Adam Rushford, they are part of my self-care, which is just as important as my skincare, right? To keep my spine working really well. And I love going into their space. They just have such an amazing attitude and knowledgeable. And it's just, if you have any kind of, I don't want to say aches and pains that could take you there, but going there will keep you from having aches and pains. How's that?
I
right?
love that.
Right? They are amazing. So Hands on Health Chiropractic Care here in Brighton, Michigan. Check them out.
Sounds awesome.
So what would you say, where should somebody just start? Just kind of wanting to get started moving into their fall and winter skincare.
So obviously, makeup is always easy if your skincare is on point. It just is natural, right? Because your skin looks better. You're not trying to cover things up. Your skin is glowing. And so your summer skin has all that extra moisture in the air, which means your skin's going to stay more hydrated. In the winter, not so much. You need to focus on that. So now is the time to switch over to richer moisturizers. I tend to forget I shouldn't admit to it, but I kind of leave off my serums in the summer because I don't feel like I need as much in the summer. I might swap my serum for like a hydration, like toner or tonic, some sort of, kind of water for my skin. And then skip my serum and go straight to like a lightweight moisturizer, even though I'm super dry. In the winter, I'm all the things. Like I need every layer of and so it starts as the weather starts to change, and then it just increases exponentially as I work my way into January and February, because by then my skin is just like, because I do like those really hot showers and it dries your skin out. And, we're in and out of our cars, in and out of the weather. If you hike, jog, run, ski, anything that takes it out of your skin. So there's a lot of talk right now in the beauty industry about your microbiome, which you've probably had people on with probiotics and probiotics on your skin and what probiotics can do for you. And you have to think about your skin as having, a microbiome, right? It has all the things going on to be balanced. It wants to be balanced. So even acneic skin, that's your skin's effort to try and balance itself. That's all it's trying to do. It's always trying to be balanced. And so you're trying to just keep your skin in balance. And so that means making sure that you are treating your skin appropriately. So as we move forward, add that extra little bit. Maybe it means adding an oil into your routine. Maybe it means putting your moisturizer back into your routine. Maybe it means, I always find this time of year a great facial and some good exfoliation, because your skin's been kind of running wild all summer. So it's time to like exfoliate, really start taking ourselves seriously. We're going to be wearing darker colors, turtlenecks, like let's get that glow going. So that's what time of,
skin glow.
Yeah, you want to get glowing, and in the summer it's kind of easy because you've got like a little bit of a tan and you're sun-kissed, and right, it's a little moisture out in the air, and so you always look a little dewy. And in the winter, all that goes away. So all the help you can get, at least in the Midwest. obviously if you live in Arizona or, someplace else, that's a different battle to fight altogether. But for us here in Michigan, those are some of the rules.
Things. Well, it's always such a pleasure to
Oh my
talk
gosh,
to you.
I know,
Oh my gosh, we've talked almost an hour.
I know. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Always fun.
Well, yes, it's always fun. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for, I'll always come. I love coming and chatting.
Well, it's just such a treat to have you and at our workshops.
I love doing them.
Everybody
it's so
just
much fun.
Always has so many things to talk about and ask about. And
I love how it starts a little quiet and everyone's a little like makeup. And it always feels a little like, what's she doing? It always feels a little like, and then once we get going, like 10 minutes in, everybody's just in.
Because it's like the little kid in us comes out, right?
100%.
The girl. So, and please check out goodfatlife.com if you haven't yet. I've got lots of cool stuff going on there. And as we like to say, Good Fat Life, fuel for an inspired, healthy life, and go out and live your good fat life.
Yeah.
Thank you.